Alrighty, this is just your video introduction to your upwelling assignment today. We're going to watch a video or read a reading to answer the questions. So you've got a set of questions you need to answer. They're right here in your text box. You're going to answer them in a text box. Now you can find the answers for this in this YouTube video and this video, as well as this, or you can read this reading right here. So either of these options are going to give you the information that you need. You can do both if you'd like. The videos aren't very long. This one is a demo, which is actually a pretty sweet demonstration right here of what upwelling actually is. And it'd be cool to watch if you're interested. And they talk about it a little bit. It looks to be like a college class. This one is also a video, but this one more goes into depth about explaining what upwelling is and why it's good for the ocean. And then if you choose to, you can also read this article right here. So by reading the article or watching both videos, you should be able to get the answers to those questions. You'll just answer them in a text box. I'm going to continue this by reading this article right here. If you want to read aloud, if you understand what's going on and you don't want to read aloud, you are good to stop watching this video. This is an article by NOAA, by Dr. Steve Gaines. He's the director of Marine Science Institute. He's a professor of ecology, evolution, and marine biology at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Here's what he has to say about upwelling. Winds powerfully affect the ocean and are an important force in creating currents. From global circulation of entire oceans to microscopic patterns of turbulence, winds move waters and its residents, animals and plants, in complex and interesting patterns. When the wind blows parallel to the coastline, an intriguing and biologically important event occurs. Affected by the rotation of the earth, winds can move water at right angles to the direction the wind is blowing, a phenomenon known as the Coriolis effect. Along a coastline orientated north to south, like much of the west coast of the United States, winds that blow from the north tend to drive ocean currents to the right of the wind direction, thus pushing surface water offshore. As surface waters are pushed offshore, water is drawn from below to replace them. The upward movement of this deep, colder water is called upwelling. The ecological effects of upwelling are quite diverse, but two important impacts are especially noteworthy. First, upwelling brings up cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface, which encourage seaweed growth and support blooms of phytoplankton. The phytoplankton blooms form the ultimate energy base for large animal populations higher in the food chain, including fish, marine mammals, and seabirds. Coastal upwelling ecosystems like the United States West Coast are some of the most productive ecosystems in the world and support many of the world's most important fisheries. Although coastal upwelling regions account for only 1% of the ocean surface, they contribute roughly 50% of the world's fisheries landings. The second major consequence of upwelling involves an effect on animal movement. Most marine fish and invertebrates produce microscopic larvae as young, which drift in the water as they develop. Depending on the species, they may drift in the ocean currents for weeks or months. For adult marine creatures that live in shallow water near shore, upwelling that moves surface water offshore can potentially move drifting larvae long distances away from their natural habitat, thus reducing their chances of survival. Therefore, upwelling can be a mixed blessing to a coastal ecosystem. It can infuse coastal waters with critical nutrients that fuel dramatic productivity, but it can also rob coastal ecosystems of offspring required to replenish coastal populations. Though the diagram in Figure 1 implies that upwelling is a consistent process with surface waters moving uniformly offshore, reality is quite different. As scientists collect more detailed data on patterns of circulation in upwelling regions from satellite remote sensing and moored instruments in the water, they have found that upwelling is extremely variable from one place to the next and over time. Although the coastline from Washington to Southern California experiences winds favorable to upwelling, the strength, frequency, and dynamics of upwelling vary enormously. Factors Factors such as a variability in the strength and direction of the wind and the topography of the coastline create an extremely dynamic pattern of upwelling. See Figure 2. So you can see that we have, click for larger image. This is the coast. We've got temperatures right here. You can see that the cold water is coming up right here very dramatically, and you're not seeing much of it right here. So part of that might have to do with this little jut inward off the coast of what I'm assuming is California. Okay. Oh. In some areas, the cold, upwelled water form a relatively narrow band near the coastline. Elsewhere, enormous filaments of cold, upwelled water extend hundreds of miles from shore at specific locations such as PT, I'm not sure what PT stands for, Pitarina, PT Reyes, PT Ayo Nueva, and PT, it's Peninsula, Sir Finley, at PT Conception, where the coastline abruptly changes directions. Upwelling does not occur because the orientation of the coastline and winds are no longer conducive to pushing surface water offshore. Upwelling in the sanctuaries. Upwelling plays an important role for the rich marine resources in which each of the 5 sanctuaries along the west coast. However, the effects on each vary. For example, winds favorable to upwelling tend to be somewhat weaker and more seasonal in the Pacific Northwest than further to the south. Nonetheless, they draw up a rich pool of nutrients that is enhanced by the presence of several deep water canyons near shore. The resulting food web diversity is spectacular. More species of kelp and marine mammals exist here than anywhere else in the world. By contrast, one of the strongest regions of upwelling along the California coast is located south and west of PT Reyes. The upwelling filaments that extend from the point, I bet that stands for point back bathes Cordell Bank in the Gulf of the Farallones. The resulting nutrient-rich water supports one of the most productive food webs in the marine world. When the wind slows or reverses directions, the upwelling ceases and warm surface waters from the Gulf of the Farallones move back north and towards the coast. These surface waters may transport larval fish and invertebrates to the mainland reefs where they eventually settle and grow. The vast extents of the Monterey Bay Sanctuary, spanning 300 miles of coastlines, is characterized by the diversity of oceanographic settings. Upwelling centers located north and south of the Monterey Bay, see Figure 3, are the primary source of cool, nutrient-rich water in the sanctuary. No scientific evidence supports the commonly held belief that the deep Monterey submarine canyon contributes to upwelling within the bay itself. The spatial variability in the upwelling and the equally large variation in the upwelling intensity over time likely play key roles in the recruitment of fish and invertebrates to the coast. Finally, the complex geography of Point Conception have a profound influence on the oceanographic conditions of the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. The primary direction of the coastline abruptly shifts from north-south to east-west at Point Conception. See Figure 4. I reckon this is Point Conception, though I'm not entirely sure. During the spring and summer months, cool, nutrient-rich waters are upwelled off the coast of Point Conception. These waters are transported to the western islands, San Miguel and Santa Rosa of the sanctuary, where they facilitate high productivity. By contrast, the eastern islands in the sanctuary, Inacapa and Santa Cruz, are bathed by warmer waters and are associated with subtropical species, which are transported north from Baja California. The sharp boundary between the nutrient-rich upwelled waters and the nutrient-depleted warmer waters create a biological transition zone between temperate and subtropical species that is unique to this area. For more detailed information about research efforts on the connections between upwelling and coastal ecosystems, see the description of the ongoing studies in sanctuaries. Okay, guys, hopefully that article helped you answer those questions. Again, this was just a read aloud, so if you didn't get the questions from this article, perhaps take a look at this demonstration right here and maybe even take a look at the demonstration because it's just something pretty cool. And then there's the other video as well. Okay. Have a great day, guys.